the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Seems like every time that I stand up here, they want to cut off my mic. So I'll try to be brief. You guys learned something?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? I'm glad. And we're going to wrap it up. So you guys are doing a great job. So let's, like he said, just give me a few more minutes. Let's open up our hearts and let's really get ready to kind of close it with a strong bang, right? So we've learned a lot of stuff. We've understood a lot of things. Let's sacrifice just a few more minutes to understand what God has to say for us tonight. The lesson for today is titled, Blessed are the Pure in Hearts. Everybody say it with me. Blessed are the pure in hearts. Blessed are the pure in hearts. Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. The point of this whole discussion today is to understand the importance of purity. Why should I be pure? What is in it for me? What is the goal of me being pure? This is why Christ said, Blessed are the pure in heart. These words were spoken by Christ, and he said it in his famous sermon known as the Sermon on the Mount, the most famous sermon that has ever been given in history. He sat down and he started to teach everyone who's willing to listen. And it is in this chapter that he told everyone listening, Blessed are the pure in hearts, to let them know that purity is something that is important. And when we are pure, there's a gift that awaits for us. Blessings. Blessings are a gift that is given from God to mankind. So our purity, by being pure, we receive this gift that Christ has to offer us. So what is purity? We said purity is the ability to follow Christ and be perfect. But what do we really mean by that? Purity is the ability to understand that we are set aside for another purpose. Purity is the idea that we have been put aside because we're not of this world, but we are reserved for the kingdom of heaven. I remember when we first moved from Ethiopia to America, we got our own little spot with mommy and daddy and my brother. He's right there. Everybody say, hi, brother. There he goes. Hi, brother. And when we came here, the first thing you started to do was buy furniture. We got a little couch here and a little couch there. And we started doing these things and whatnot. And then we started buying dishes, cups, and plates and all that stuff. And I noticed my mom was buying 2 sets of everything. I didn't get it. I'm like, what are you doing? And one of the dishes and the plates, they look pretty average. The other ones look extremely gorgeous and amazing. The average ones she put in the kitchen. The very expensive looking ones she put. And then and everybody what are you doing, Mom? In front of the TV. What are you doing? Why is it not in the kitchen? Then I remember one day, I wanted some food, and I went and I tried to touch it, and she said, don't you touch the china. I was like, Mom, we're in America. And apparently these plates, I know it's a corny joke. I worked on them all day, I promise. And I remember thinking, wait a minute. These plates look amazing. How come we can't use it? She said, nope, that's for a special occasion. In the living room, where people come, we just look at it. Wow. Wow. The regular looking plates we had to eat every single day. Finally, somebody from Ethiopia or somebody came, and they finally came. She opened it. The most expensive looking ones. I didn't think they had any people. I thought they were fake at first. Careful. thankfully, we sit down, we ate with him for the guests, because this is like an honored guest. The guy never said anything. Like, for me, it was like the best day of my life. All like, the food tastes better, like everything is amazing. You don't understand. The guy didn't, like, he ate, he was like, okay, bye, and he left. I'm looking at him like, what's wrong with him? But the problem is, no one told him that we haven't used these plates ever. Like, the 10 years that we lived in America, it's never been used. But had he known that it was being reserved for that particular purpose, I wonder what he would have thought. I wonder what he would have thought about the family. I wonder what he would have thought about my mom. Probably a little crazy, but he would have appreciated it. He would have been like, wow, what a blessing. That is purity. That is being put aside. When God created you, He put you aside. For something perfect, for the kingdom of heaven, He said, no. You're my best creation. You're created last. And He called you my child. To show you how much He cared about you, He came here in this world and He died for you. Why? Because you're pure. Why? Because He's put you aside for something amazing. And this week, we're getting ready to commemorate what? What's this week's fast called? Good hand, loyal servant. It is about understanding that each one of you were created carefully. And then inside of you, He put a gift. Inside of you, He put a gift that will be able to, you can transform the world. This is not just something that we literally have the power to transform the world. And then He said, like, the china, the plate, like it's being reserved for a high place, you're reserved for the kingdom of heaven. Anything less than that, what a waste of time. What a waste of time. Like the new phone, like iPhone X or whatever, right? Whoever created and made that, his goal is to make sure that every single person has the phone in their hand, right? But how do you think you'd feel if everybody started buying the phone and kind of banging it across the wall? You think you'd be happy? Oh, the waste. Only if you knew the features it had. Only if you knew what this phone could do, you would never waste a phone like this. You were created for the kingdom of heaven. You were created to accomplish great things in life. To change, literally to change this world. But what happens when we start banging ourselves against this world? How does God look at us? We are made for the kingdom of heaven. But then we allow ourselves to lose our purity whenever we start going to the world. And instead of seeking the kingdom of heaven, we start banging our soul, our body, and everything we have against this world. If you give a phone to like a little kid, you keep banging it across the wall, the first one may not do anything. The second one not. But eventually it's going to break. It wasn't created to be banged against the wall. It was created for a lot of purposes, but not to be banged against the wall. When you take your body, you bang it against sin, eventually, you're going to break. Eventually, you're going to crack. And if you crack, then the purpose of why you were created is messed up. I remember when I was young, I had like this odd way of eating. It's very odd. What I would do is, like if I, you get like a plate, you get like different things. What I like, my brother is smart because he knows what I used to do. What I used to do is, I would eat the food that I didn't like first. And I would save like the best one at the end because I want that to be my last memory. But what would happen usually, my brother, right? He would keep adding the broccoli, and then I'll eat like because I want to get rid of the bad stuff. And by the time the good stuff came, I would be full. You'd be like, too bad, and you'd eat it. And I'll never get time for the good stuff because I've wasted my body with all this bad stuff that I've eaten. Right? That's the same thing we're doing with our body. We're meant for perfection, for the kingdom of heaven. We're like that china who is set aside for something great. But each time we're allowing this world to come and kind of ruin our body, by the time Christ comes and our purpose for this world comes, we don't have anything else to give. We filled it up. We're used up. We're used up. Let's look at a few examples. What are the things that could ruin our purity? Let's look at one. Let's look at two, actually. Drugs. Mainly, I don't know, weed, Mary J, marijuana, that Obama, whatever you want to call it. Oh, it has so many names. I don't know. It changes. It changes every single one. What does that do to your body? Some people ask, is it a sin? Is it wrong? Well, let's look at it. From all the drugs, I think one of the worst drugs in the world is marijuana. You're like, what? I'll tell you why. It really ruins your purpose, and I don't even call it marijuana. You know what I call it? I call it the F-it drug. I call it the F-it drug. Why? When you have problems in your life, or you're like stressing out about school, whatever, you take a little weed, right? You smoke it. F-it. Yo, I got homework, man. Like, I gotta do these things, whatever. And you get high with your friends. F-it. True or false? True or don't answer, because don't give up yourself. So, it is one of the drugs that makes no sense. That literally makes no sense. First of all, it smells like bad, like bathroom bad. You ever been to, I'm gonna give you guys a bad analogy, right? You ever been to the bathroom, you do what you gotta do, you walk out for whatever reason, you gotta walk back and be like, who did that, right? Like, who did? At first, when you were in it, you don't realize how bad the smell was, right? But once you leave, and you walk back in, you're like, what was I doing, right? You know what amazes me? The smell of weed, it smells like bathroom. That's how it smells like, right? Yeah. But people who are involved in that world, it amazes me. They smell it. Ooh, yeah, that's that good stuff. To the rest of the world, it smells so bad, but they're in it and they can't realize how bad it stinks. And just like the smell, it's ruining our life. It's ruining our soul. And then what happens? You go, you pay money for something that's gonna ruin your life, right? Then you take it. And then think about how much time you spend throughout the whole process. You go, you get like a bag or whatever you're getting for that week or whatever. Then you go, you separate whatever you need to separate. You roll it up, you lick it, right? And then you start to pass it around. Whoever, this is how disgusting it is. You put your lips on it, you put your saliva on it, and then you pass it around. Right? That's the most disgusting thing that could ever happen. And then what's the first thing that happens? You take it, and then you take a hit, right? Oh yeah, this is the good stuff. You're coughing, your body is literally telling you, please stop. Like, I can't take any more of this. Yeah. Literally, it's telling you, I am sick. Stop. And what you want to do is, you want to put more things inside of it. It is ruining the purpose. And what kills me about this is a drug that changes your mindset. Right? Like alcohol, it changes everything, right? Like weed, people who smoke weed think they're smart. And that's the thing that gets me. Like, you know, after hitting like a J, people start to talk like they're philosophers. Yeah. You ever think like the stars though, you know what I mean? Like the stars be like, yo, they're not doing anything, right? To them, they're like the biggest philosophers. Like, go learn astrology if like you're really interested about the stars, right? Then here's the thing that breaks my heart. You come to someone under this influence, right? And you go tell them, your church needs you. And you go tell them your country needs you. And your country needs you. And you go tell them, be an ambassador for Christ. Be the soldier for Christ. Under this influence, what are they going to say? F it. Although this was the purpose. Although the reason why God took the time to create you was to change the world. It was so that you could be here for the church. It was so that you could be there for your country. Like your parents' generation, when they were your age, they cared about this world. Now we have a generation for the first time that doesn't care about anything around them. Why? Because this drug has taken it away. And then it's like this mindset, at least I'm not dying, at least nobody died, at least nothing's happening. You know what it's doing? It's literally taking your passion away. It's literally taking your passion away from making a change in this world. Purity means understanding you were created for the kingdom of heaven. Christ is trying to come and dwell in your heart, but it's filled with weed. How can Christ penetrate through there and change your life? How can you think about changing the world? How could you, like waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning? It's never going to happen for liturgy, right? And for kadasha, for whatever you need. It's never going to happen. When you take this drug, alter your mind, and tell yourself, F it. It's taking the passion away from you. It's taking the reason why God has created it away from you. And when we have done this, there's no way in the world we can fulfill our purpose. We've lost the goal. We've lost the result. We've lost the idea of why, to begin with, we were created in this world. That's one way we can mess up our purpose in this world. Let's look at another thing. Young people always wonder, like there was a lot of questions about this, about fornication, sex before marriage. Like, are we really expected to wait until marriage? Is that really? I remember I always get that question in Sunday schools, right? Like, but really though, like really? Yes. But no, I mean but really? Yes. I'm gonna tell you something. When you think about sex, think of it like a game. Just stay with me on this, I promise. Some people are looking at me like, this guy, where's he going with this? My brother's like, I don't know. Sex is like a game, right? And just like any game, there's a manufacturer for the game, right? Guess who the manufacturer is? God. Believe it or not, sex is a beautiful thing. I'm not here to tell you sex is bad. Sex is amazing. It's great. In fact, I'll tell you something. Everybody should have sex. Like, it's the best thing ever out there. But, listen. Sex is not bad. I said weed was horrible. I'll tell you that right now. Sex, it's beautiful. It's the best thing ever. But, are you guys with me?
Yes.
There are rules to the game. Are you guys with me? There are rules
to the game.
Like the phone, for example, let's go back to the iPhone X example. If I give you an iPhone X or your parents give it to you, whatever, whose phone is it? It's yours. Nobody can tell you other ones, right? If the phone stops working, what do you do with it? You go to the manufacturer. It's your phone, right? But if you don't use it according to how the manufacturer intended it to, it could break. And even when it stops working, you have to go to the manufacturer and read the rules. Or they have to fix it for you, right? Because God is the one who gave us the gift of sex, we have to listen to him to know how to play the game. Mm-hmm. When we stop listening to the manufacturer, guess what happens to the game? Guess what happens? It breaks. It's a simple game. It's a two-player game. You can't play more than the two. You can't play by yourself. You have to play against the opposite team. Are you guys with me? You have to play with the opposite team. And then when you read the rules of the game, it explicitly says, best in use after marriage. When you break the rules to the game, you literally break it. And that's not just a game or like, that's not just a joke or whatever. It literally breaks. I'm going to tell you guys a scientific thing that's been recently researched. Young girls, when you're engaged in sex, there's actually chemical like things that are like your brain is firing all the time, right after sex, right? And that feeling is you have the desire to be like loved, because sex wasn't meant to be like just for the action of it. There's like a feeling also of like love and connection that's associated with it, because it's meant for marriage, right? What ended up happening is, and they're seeing this through the research, is when young people have sex, especially the guys, they're not there to like for the love aspect. It's like all mechanical for them, right? So they have sex, they walk away. So what happens is the way we were made, there's this chemical thing that's fired that screams out for them, like right after they have sex, they need to be held and loved and cared for. Something young people just can't provide. Something that's just not there. So guess what happens to your body? This is scientific, it's not in the Bible, it's scientific. You know what happens? This chemical reaction or whatever is firing in your brain, the more and more that you keep engaging in this, because you don't get that love and that care when you need it, it stops firing that chemical thing. So what happens is by the time they're ready for marriage, because they haven't been cared for like they needed to be, by the time they're ready for marriage, they don't want to have sex anymore. The biggest problem with a lot of like married people, as women, they don't want to have sex. They don't have the like whatever. They don't want to have sex. By the time when you're supposed to enjoy it, you have the rest of your life. Like 30 years old, has no desire for sex. Why? Because it was ruined and they broke it at a young age. This is true. This is not something I'm making up. Go and research it. Guys, there's a lot of things online. A lot of like the porn sites and all this stuff that's provided. You know what happens? Each time that you're engaged in these type of actions, you're rewiring your brain on how you think. God has Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? God has wired your brain to be with one woman. And each time that you're involved with this stuff, it literally rewires your brain to think differently. And once you get used to like the computer, you sit right next to your wife, and by the time you're married, you don't know what to do. Why? Because you rewired your brain to thinking you need multiple women. Or that you rewired your brain to thinking what the computer shows you is in reality. And by the time your wife comes, you can't act on it. And you have literally 30-year-old men who are married who are unable to have sex at 30. They broke the system. Literally. The concept of sex is supposed to be cherished and experienced after marriage. That's how God intended it to be. And even think about it. You get together at a young age, and you do whatever. And then you stop. And then you get with the next guy, and then you do whatever. You stop. And then you get married, and you do whatever. What's new? Nothing. You've been practicing how to be married all your life. If you start having sex at 15, and you get married by 30, from 15 to 30, you've been practicing how to have sex, how to live a married life from the beginning. So by the time that you're 30, the concept of divorce is just another thing that you've practiced. There's nothing new. Why do you think this generation has the biggest rate of divorce? It's because they're practicing it. They're practicing how to live a married life. But if you wait until you're married, this great gift that you can enjoy for the rest of your life, you get to experience it. That is purity. Understanding there's something amazing waiting for you. Something huge that God has put in place for you. Don't ruin it by something so trivial. Don't ruin it by the world It's like taking that phone and banging it against the wall over and over again. What a waste. Think about the amount of features that phone has. What a waste to take your body and bang it against all these sinful things. What a waste when you're meant to be for the kingdom of heaven. You're like that China who's reserved for the King of Kings to come and dwell in you. You're like that China who is waiting for the best guest that can possibly come to come and dwell in you. Whenever you're using it for something else, you're ruining it. You're ruining it. So what to do? What to do? Understand that God is a merciful God. You can make a decision right now. And that's all He wants. That's to say, I will follow you. Don't think about the things that you have to give up. Most of the time when we think about like living a life with Christ, we think about, does that mean I can't party? Does that mean I can't listen to music? Does that mean that I can't do this? Does that mean that I can't do that? Don't think about that. The concept of Christianity is not to think about the things that we're going to give up. It's about understanding what we're going to gain. Amen. Don't think about what you have to lose and give up. Just come understanding that you're pure and set aside specifically for this purpose. And if you decide today, you don't have to do anything, but you do have to make a decision. Just to say, I will walk in the path that Christ showed me. And you open up your heart and allow Christ to come in. Your life will be changed forever. And you will receive the blessing that He has promised. By being pure, we will be blessed. Blessed are those who are pure in heart. Was about like that.